What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tech Logic Lounge. So I know it's been a minute since I last posted, and it's been for good reason. I recently took the Cisco CCNP design, the 300-420 ENSLD exam, and unfortunately it didn't go my way. I ended up failing. And I'm going to give you guys my experience on it, let you guys know what I recommend you focus on, also give you guys a background on what I do in my job so you can kind of compare it to your experience, and also let you guys know what I ended up using for my studies. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe. Throw a comment down below. Let me know what exam you're studying for, if you're studying for this one specifically, and what are you guys using to study. Oh, and make sure you guys stick around and watch the video, because somewhere in the video I'm actually going to give you a tip on how you can potentially get a free voucher. No bullshit, no signing up for anything, just something that I ended up experiencing myself, which allowed me to get one, and I'm going to let you guys know how you can potentially get one too. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the meat and potatoes, the exam itself. Now obviously I'm not going to give you guys any sort of information that's going to get my ass hemmed up, because I'm actually still trying to pass this thing, and I actually like my certifications. But anyway, so I took the Cisco CCNP 300-420, and if you guys actually take a look at the exam objectives that Cisco provides you, I'm going to say overall it was actually very accurate in terms of the percentages that they used to test you regarding the number of questions. So let's say, WAN for enterprise networks, it was 20% on the exam objectives, and I'd say it was pretty accurate in terms of my actual testing experience overall. Now, I know that these exam objectives do kind of seem broad, and generally it makes you think that you might not have to go as in-depth in terms of your studies, but I would recommend at least going 1 to 2 layers deeper than what you think. I'm not going to go into specifics, but there were some things where I'm like,
what? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Damn, I wouldn't have expected you to ask me this if you're just expecting me to design it. But there are some questions where they're really wanting you to understand the technology, especially if you're going to recommend this to someone as a Cisco network designer. And of course, the name of this exam is the Cisco CCNP design, right? So you're expecting a lot of design type questions. And I'd say they hit that real hard. If there's any exam objective that you have where it says specifically to design a specific type of technology, make sure you understand when you would use that, make sure you understand the benefits of it, and make sure you understand how it compares to some of the other solutions to stuff. You might get some sort of scenario question, just like you would in real life, where you have specific customer requirements and limitations that they might have, which can include a wide variety of things like cost, availability, all kinds of stuff like that. And you're going to want to understand which technologies shine the most, whether it be, first hop redundancy protocols, switching protocols, spanning tree, routing, WAN designs, all of those things. You're going to want to understand what the benefit of each technology would be. You might obviously in real life, as you would in this exam, have specific solutions that might work, but there's going to be 1 or 2 that shines based on what your scenario may be, and that could be something that pops up on your exam. So definitely make sure you understand those design tips. Specifically, I would say I understand how to configure each of these different routing protocols, these first hop redundancy, everything on the exam, with the exception of SD-WAN and access type stuff, I can configure and don't have any issues with. But it's not enough just to be able to know how to configure it. You want to know specifically how you can manipulate stuff, how you can tailor these different technologies to overall help you satisfy the customer's requirements. And that's one thing they're really aiming for in this exam, the design aspect. And be aware that this exam might give you specific details and requirements and limitations on questions that might make a specific technology seem as if it would stand out and is the best answer. But there's going to be that one detail in there that might completely negate your answer and actually require you to go with another solution, which would obviously cause you to get your answer incorrect if you're not paying attention to every little detail in your question. So just make sure you're reading everything. Some of the questions are as clear as mud, and other ones are actually pretty spot on, as direct. They're asking you, what's 1 + 1, and it's just 2, and I would say there were a few on there where I was, able to answer it just like that. It was great. But there are other ones where it took me a little bit to think about it, and I read it several times, and some of them I was just like, I don't know, I'm just gonna have to skip over it. And also make sure you understand every technology that's on the exam. If there's something on there as an exam objective, they're gonna ask you about it. Even the smaller things, like me, I didn't really go in, too in depth with regards to Yang models, and boy, was I wishing when I was taking that exam that I would have actually looked into it a little bit more. So definitely make sure you're hitting every exam objective and go a little bit deeper into it than what you think you need to. All right, so now we're going to get into what I use for studying. But before I do that, make sure you guys subscribe. When I hit 500 subs, I'm going to be giving away a Raspberry Pi 5. Plus, I plan on taking this exam soon, and you're going to want to know whether or not I pass. And when I do, I'll give you guys my experience on that as well. But anyways, so I use 2 primary things. I use the official certification guide, the 2nd edition for the 300-420 exam. And I also used the CBT Nuggets series that they have that was released, I think, in like 2022 or something like that. It's It's the only one they have for 300-420. My primary method was, which I always do for my exams, is watch the actual CBT Nuggets videos overall, just so I get an overall wave-top understanding of it. Because sometimes for me, when I learn something new, it's a little bit easier to hear it than it is to read. So I did the videos first. I watched all of them at like 2x speed, just for the fact that I decided to start studying about 3 weeks before my exam, which wasn't a good idea. I should have been studying months ago, and I couldn't push my exam date back because of, requirements that came up with work. But so I watched all of those videos at 2x speed, and of course that would cause me to miss some key details, which when I went back after my test and I watched those videos again, I was like, damn. But so I used the CBT Nuggets videos, and then I also used the OCG. Now I didn't get through all of the chapters in the OCG, obviously because I was on time crunch, so I can't tell you specifically that it didn't cover everything. However, for the most part, I'd say it was spot on. But then I did look at some of the design portions, specifically for SD-WAN, and I would say it didn't go as deep as I needed it to. But you can definitely supplement the videos and the book with some additional studying. If you don't think something was hit very well, let's say ISIS or SD-WAN, or even honestly spanning tree, go ahead and just Google those, maybe look at some white papers and just go a little bit more in depth. I even actually would use the videos on CBT Nuggets specifically for those technologies that weren't related to the 300-420 exam, just to get a little bit more detail. So I would recommend you do that. For me though, I've always used CBT Nuggets and then the OCG, and I've been fine. When I took the 350-401 last year, I only used those, and it was great. But then again, I also took 2 months to study for it as opposed to the about 3 weeks that I did for this. But those are the main resources I use, and actually what I'm using now, except for since I failed and I'm going to be testing here soon, I'm studying a little bit more, and of course going more in depth with reading those white papers and looking into the videos. So in regards to my current job experience, I would say that the 300-420 design exam is spot on with my responsibilities in my current job. So I'm a network engineer. I've got about 5 years of experience, and I do a lot of designs for projects where a customer will provide me with some sort of project that they need, and it has requirements and limitations, and I obviously create a network design and then implement that design based off of whether or not it gets approved. So this is actually very spot on, but there are some technologies that I've never worked with, like specifically the SD-WAN portion, the Cisco SD-WAN. I've never touched it, but just about everything else, I'd say with the exception of like ISIS and QoS, are some things that I haven't touched on the job itself. Everything else for the most part I have. Oh, and wireless too. I haven't really worked with Cisco's wireless before. So that's my experience. You take that and compare it to yours and see how it fares against the exam. Now, lastly, I just want to talk about the piercing testing experience itself, not the exam portion. So I decided to take the exam at home. Of course, you use the Pearson VUE website to schedule that, which was very easy. I scheduled it about, I think, a month or two ago, honestly, but didn't end up studying until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And all that was fine. The portion that sucked was the actual day of. So of course, Pearson recommends you do a test of your system beforehand. And I did that the day before, I did it the day of, and I've done this several other times before because I've taken Pearson VUE exams at the house before. So all of that was fine. But when it came to the day of course, I usually decide to get a folding table and just a regular chair, and I put it in my bedroom. And that's because I've got a lot of stuff in my office. I don't want to be taking pictures of it and having Pearson sit there asking me about it. So I just have a clean environment in my bedroom. So when I took the pictures of all the sides, took a picture of my ID, myself and all that, that was fine. And I checked in. As soon as I check in, I had 29 people in front of me. I think I had like maybe 5 to 10 last year when I took my exam. So I only waited like 20-30 minutes. But this time it felt like it was going to go fast. Within a minute, it refreshes every minute. And within a minute, it went from 29 to like 23. So I was like, okay, we're moving. But then it did not move for another 20 minutes. So my exam started technically at 11:30. You can check in 30 minutes prior. I think I was completely done with the check-in process by like 11:05. So I was sitting in queue waiting, and it didn't move from 23 for about 20 minutes. And I told myself if I hit 11:28, I was going to go ahead and back out and re-enter. Thinking maybe I got stuck in the queue or something that wasn't registering. And if you're not in queue and actually moving before your test time, you can actually lose your spot and you have to retest. You might not even get a refund, or you could, who knows, I don't know. So I went ahead and backed out, and I expected to have to come back in and take the pictures again and all that. So I went and grabbed my phone, and when I signed in, it immediately brought me back in. It didn't ask me to take a picture or anything like that. And when you're waiting in this queue, it gives you a note telling you that all the exam rules apply now, even though you don't have the exam in front of you. So it pulls me in and it pulls my video up, and I got my phone in my hand. I'm like, oh shit. So first thing I do is just chuck my phone out the door, because I had the door open, which I intended on closing after I moved my phone outside from taking the pictures. But I didn't have the chance to, because it just pulled me right in. So I chucked my phone, it hit my damn door frame and fell right next to my foot. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm sitting there freaking out, and I'm like, okay, let's just see if this thing even moves, right? If the queue moves. And it moves, I think, after like 2 to 3 minutes, but it was a lot slower. I ended up coming in at 29 again, and then I think it went down to like 28. It was going like one at a time. But I think I waited 30 minutes and I barely moved. So I went ahead and was like, all right, I got to get this stuff out of here. If I don't, and the exam does start, I'm really screwed. So I just decided to pick up my laptop, and I grab my phone, keeping my face in frame the entire time, and I throw it out in the living room, and I close my door, and I sit back down. Everything's Gucci. Okay, cool. I'd say another hour goes by, so it's been about an hour and a half at this point. I'm probably at like 15 people or something in front of me. My dang Roomba vacuum decides to go off, and it starts spinning up and going, and I can hear it. And I know that if Pearson hears anything, they will DQ you. But of course, my exam hasn't started. My proctor hasn't even come in. So I'm freaking out, and I'm like, all right, if it gets close to the door, I'll go ahead and do the same thing I did before. I'll just open it up and turn it off real quick. So it did end up doing that about 20 minutes after it started, and I went ahead and turned it off. I brought my laptop with me, so I'm still freaking out. Go back in the room and close it. And I'd say, so my exam was supposed to start at 11:30. I didn't make it to the front of the queue and actually start until 1:05. So actually, I got in the waiting room at 11:05, and I didn't start till 1:05. So overall, I waited 2 hours just to start the exam. And I'd already been freaking out this entire time. All the rules apply, so you can't look at your phone, you can't watch TV, you can't literally do anything or talk to anybody. You just got to stare at your dumbass looking face the entire time. And that's what I ended up doing for 2 hours before my exam started. Then I went through the entire thing. You get an hour and a half for the exam. It only took me like 40 minutes to get through it. Definitely take your time on it, because you're gonna have more than enough time to take this exam. I think I had about like 60-ish questions or something like that. And overall, I had more than enough time, but ended up failing, which sucks, go through that entire process. So I did the survey afterwards. I put that I was completely dissatisfied with the testing time that it took, and ended up actually getting a call yesterday from Pearson VUE saying that they were sorry about my experience, and they actually gave me a voucher to retake my exam for free. So definitely make sure you guys do those surveys, because it turns out they actually do read them, and you might get a free exam out of it. So yeah. But that was my Pearson VUE testing experience as well. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. I'm not going to go into any specifics that'll get myself hemmed up. Those are what I use to study. That's the overall test experience itself, and my experience overall. Let me know what you guys are going to do to take this exam. Let me know if you've already passed. If not, when you plan on taking this exam, or if you plan on taking any other exams. Drop a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe so you can get in that Raspberry Pi 5 giveaway. I do plan on taking this exam in a week, so next Saturday, and we'll see how it goes. I'll update you guys. Anyways, good luck to you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.